What's up, guys? In today's video I wanted to talk about, should classic physique be included in natural bodybuilding? Yesterday, my friend Martin Walker posted a video on his YouTube account about this subject, and I'm going to link it below. He gave me the idea for this video, and I wanted to give him my opinion on it, so let's get into it. As we all know, classic bodybuilding kind of originated from the 1960s and 70s, aka the golden era, when guys like Frank Zane and Schwarzenegger were competing. What did they have? They had broad shoulders, narrow waist, sweeping quads, a controlled stomach, if you will. Fast forward to the early 2000s and especially the early 2010s, and what do we have? We have the evolution of the bubble gut. And that was absolutely out of control, and Schwarzenegger himself even called out some guys saying that there needs to be a definite change in their midsections. So what happened? Well, just before that, they included Physique into the NPC IFBB, which was a big hit, and I will admit that it probably has helped the sport expand some because it just gets more people interested other than just bodybuilding. So we have Physique. Physique is, once again, broad shoulders, wide back, narrow waist, very trim, athletic look, if you will. A desirable look for most. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the bodybuilders, the big as you can freaks, huge proportions, unbelievably shredded. And there was no middle ground. So in 2016, the IFBB made Classic Physique, a nice middle ground between the two categories to give someone a chance to potentially transition from one group or the other depending on what they wanted. Getting back to the golden era look almost. So they had the short shorts, and that was a little bit more aesthetic look, if you will. Not quite as muscular as bodybuilding, not quite as small as Physique. It was a nice middle ground. Fast forward about a year and a half, late 2017, early 2018, natural bodybuilding starts to pick up the classic physique category. But here's the thing, before we get into that, let's look at the categories that natural bodybuilding had beforehand. Just like the NPC and IFBB, they had physique and they had bodybuilding. Awesome. Let's look at some physique guys. If you look at any natural physique competitor out there, especially the top ones that compete in the pro ranks, like we were comparing the IFBB guys before, if you look at a guy like Anthony Piper, for example, one of my good friends from Minnesota, he is about 185 pounds on stage, and if he took his board shorts off, he could compete in bodybuilding. If he put short shorts on, he can compete in classic physique. If, as he usually does, wears the board shorts, competes in physique. He just happens to choose that class because, he likes the posing, he likes the look, and he does very well in that class. But as you can see from his even most muscular shot, that most muscular rivals that of any bodybuilder out there in natural bodybuilding. And then if you take a guy like, for instance, Sam Okinola or Chris Salgado or Terrence Terrell, who we're going to get to in a minute, you're going to notice that a lot of these guys who are natural pros have the quote-unquote classic physique. Why? Because, well, when you pursue things naturally, you can only take your body so big, right? You're not going to see the distension in the gut from all the drug use. You're going to have the wide shoulders. You're going to have the tapered waist. You're going to have the sweeping quads. So I want to give an example of what happened last year with the evolution of classic physique from my perspective. So if we look back, and a lot of you guys followed my prep from last year, you saw that I competed in the KC Pro International. And in that show, there was 6 bodybuilders. And yes, that was kind of a small show, kind of disappointing from that standpoint, but if you look at all the bodybuilders, you will see that they were unbelievably good. So, unfortunately, somebody had to lose, somebody had to place outside of the top 5, and that guy was Terrence Terrell. Now, if you look at Terrence and you think, how the hell did he place 6th? Everybody was questioning that as well because everybody was a good bodybuilder that day. And Terrence placed 6th, so he didn't qualify for Worlds. So Terrence, being the competitive athlete that he is, said, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go and I'm going to compete in Classic Physique. It's a new category, wide open. So Terrence went on to place well in the Chicago Windy City Show. Then he went on, mind you, to win the World Championships in Classic Physique. So as you can see from these two pictures, it's the same pose, it's the same physique. Terrence changed his look. He changed the shorts that he was wearing. He went from the regular posing trunks to the short shorts. Another guy that was in the IPE show, in the KC show, Chris Salgado. Chris did not qualify for Worlds. He placed 5th. What did he go on to do? He went on to compete in the NPC. Later that year, he won his class in the NPC show. He lost in the overall, I looked this up, no surprise, to another natural bodybuilder, Chris Wells. Chris, who earlier in the year as well, won the Masters Pro show at the Windy City show in open bodybuilding. Chris is not a small bodybuilder by any means, but once again, being a natural athlete, he still has those proportions. He doesn't have the big descended gut like a lot of these IFBB guys have. So what am I getting at here? What am I getting at? Is that a natural guy can go into any classic physique show and do extremely well. Just a couple weekends ago, Sam Okinola, the 2017 IPE World Bodybuilding champion, walked into an NPC show in St. Louis, won the overall, swept everybody, beat all the enhanced guys handedly. In my opinion, the other guys stood no chance to him. So what am I getting at here is that any natural guy has a classic physique. You're not going to see a natural guy with a huge descended gut. You know why? I mean, if they do have a big gut, it's because they're fat. But at the pro level, you're not going to see anybody that's fat. If you look at the physique guys like Anthony Piper, or if you look at any of the natural pros like Chris Salgado or Sam Okinola, or Terrence Terrell, they're all going to be similarly looking. Now, granted, yes, we do have guys like Mishak out there who are like 5'2", that kind of throw things for a loop as in regards to the overall look. But if you look at any pro bodybuilder out there, whether they're bodybuilder or physique competitor, they can really be interchanged throughout the classes. So, in my opinion, classic physique shouldn't be a part of natural bodybuilding because there's too much overlap. As Martin said in his video, and I encourage you guys to watch that, there was 9 classic physique competitors in this show that he went to. Only 1 bodybuilder. And I'm not trying to take away anything from the classic physique guys or the physique athletes for that matter, because we all train extremely hard. But when we look at it, we're all very similar looking. And especially the posing and the trunks for bodybuilding to classic physique, in my opinion, is very similar. So I would like to see that category be tossed to the wayside because there's not as big of a difference between physique and bodybuilding like there is in natural bodybuilding compared to the NPC when you have physique and the super duper enhanced look of the IFBB pros, the guys weighing 250 to 300 pounds on stage. There's no need for a middle ground. So unfortunately, I feel like classic physique is going to water down the sport a little bit, and I can see from a promoter standpoint how it is important to have this category, especially to try to get people from the NPC to compete in natural bodybuilding if they are a natural athlete. So I see that from a business standpoint, it's the right move. For the sports move forward, I don't know if it's going to work. From the athlete standpoint, I don't know if it's going to work because I think that it's going to create too much division within the categories, too much watering down between the categories. I do want to finish with this too, is that last year I attended a lot of shows, obviously, and I still attend a lot of shows. And what I see is that organizations that do allow crossovers, the guys compete in both classic physique and bodybuilding, back and forth, in the same show. And they usually place exactly the same way, whether it is in classic physique and bodybuilding. I had a client do that last year as well in 2 shows, and he pretty much placed exactly the same in open bodybuilding and in classic physique. And many guys do that because they see the similarities and they're like, well, if this is a pro qualifying class, I'm going to do this one. And if this one's a pro qualifying class, I might as well do that one too because they're the same thing. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Should classic physique be a part of natural bodybuilding? Do you think that there's room for it? Do you think it's going to help the sport? Do you think it's going to hurt the sport? Let me know what you think. And I do want to say this once again. I'm not trying to take away anything from these guys who compete in classic physique. We're all great athletes. These natural athletes out there are just proving that we can shape our bodies and we could still do very well in these categories, whether you compete in the NPC or you compete in natural bodybuilding with itself. But in my opinion, classic physique across the board is the natural physique. There's no need for a separate category. It should be just physique and bodybuilding. As always, guys, keep dominating in every aspect. I'll see you soon.